All right, guys, we are live for real this time. We got to figure it out. Spent the whole afternoon yesterday dialing in OBS. The problem was the new computer was way too much for YouTube streaming, and I didn't realize that that was an issue. So as I was dialing things up, it turns out that I needed to turn things down. So through a lot of trial and failure, we have succeeded and we're back. This stream is not going to cut. Stick around. We have a lot to go over today. I hope everyone's had an amazing run in the past little while here. Bitcoin has gone completely insane, all the way up to numbers that we have been anticipating for a while, but it's nice to actually see them. So I hope everybody's done really good in the past month or two. I think we've only been gone for about a month, so it hasn't been that long. It's been long enough for a lot of price action to happen. Yes, we're good. We're good. Okay, so I want to do a big run over of things today. I'm probably going to go over a lot more than I should go over as far as, my paid side of the group goes, but I haven't been on in a while, so I'd really like to lay some things out about the market, go over some ideas we've been talking about, and really give you guys a good idea of how I feel things are going to go in the next little while, because we did pretty good at hammering down on these alt ideas, and we're going to talk about that a little bit first. So the last time we spoke, we were looking at this chart, Bitcoin dominance, and we were looking at this long extended rising wedge, and at that time we were up in here just trying to push up through these levels. But I was saying I don't think that we're going to push up much past, because there's a lot more altcoin action in the market now. So getting up into the 73% for Bitcoin would be quite the push. So we were rejected on these lines that have existed for a long time, and we made our way down to the bottom. That allowed all of our altcoin setups and ideas for the past couple of months to make nice runs, which I did a small video about to share. And obviously now we're seeing a little bounce here, which is expected. I mean, this is an area where we thought we were going to see some type of a bounce. So that's what we're getting, and that's going to cause alts to have a bit of a pullback, which is a normal thing. Even in the middle of a bull run, we are going to see, like an alt season bull run, we're still going to see crazy pullbacks on alts. That's just something that's going to happen. It always does. So as these altcoins make their way up, they're going to run and then pull back 50, 60, 70% even. And then they're going to catch bottom, higher low, and then run, push to higher high. So, some coins are going to go straight up for a few days and then fall off a cliff. And some coins are going to gradually make their way up in some type of maybe a rising wedge pattern that will push up through and be bullish, but it's going to be a process, right? So whether you're trading or whether you're holding is completely up to you. So, long-term Bitcoin. Let me switch that right now. Is anyone here? Is our stream working? I'm pretty sure the stream is going really well right now. My numbers look great. All right, everything looks great. Carrying on. So, the last big pattern we looked at for Bitcoin, we were looking at this wedge, was shared in the group. we really did lock in on this area here of entry. And so we have seen quite the run, very impressive run, but I'm trying to scope in a bigger idea here. Let's take a look at something like this, because we do have to consider the fact that if we want our alts to run, Bitcoin's going to have to take a break. So we have to consider something like this. Now, there's nothing that says Bitcoin won't push up through here and surprise everybody and hit those 130, 140, but we have to see the volume come in for that. Right now, I am leaning towards a bit of a pullback or a cool off for Bitcoin, and then alts are going to get a chance to keep going. But we have to watch that dominance, because if dominance is able to push up and continue higher, Bitcoin could surprise everybody right here. So locally, we've been looking at, and again, I'm going to share things that I wouldn't normally share because I haven't been online in a while, and I want to catch some traction on this and catch everybody up on what I'm thinking. And then if you stick with me when I come on and stream, you're gonna notice some consistencies, and you're gonna be able to decipher your own trades from that. So right now we're looking at this pattern, right? We're in a triangle. I mean, it's a bullish situation potentially. Let's pull it from here. Not get too greedy. I know you could run it up, but let's pull it from here, you know? So I mean, we could very well see this happen, but we need to break this pattern first. So what I have shared most recently with the group is 2 ideas. I always share 2 ideas. There's 2 sides of a coin, so there's always got to be 2 ideas at play. So the first idea is we break up out of the top of this and we run. The second idea is we break down below, get rejected, and head down to test a lower level. Now, is it very possible that Bitcoin drops down out and then runs up? Yeah, that's very possible. But typically, we're looking at a very simplistic version of that, and we're going to watch for these levels to break and then make a decision, or we're going to watch for these levels to break and then make a decision. I was, able to trade a couple of bounces because we did have this pattern like this shared in the group, and I made a video about that. So we had this shared back here. We got our bounce and we had a run, but obviously it didn't have the momentum to keep going. So at that point, we have to take that pattern, we have to take that pattern and change it, because we're on a smaller time frame. We have to change our pattern with the time frame. So now we're looking at something like this. And we're going to have to watch for Bitcoin to make a decision based on these levels. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4 nice touches on the bottom here, and 1, 2 on this new idea, but it was 1, 2, 3 touches that we had, and then we just didn't have the momentum to push up really high. But again, that's not a bad thing, because that's given our alts a chance to make a nice run. We're still streaming. Great. Perfect. Okay, so that's a local Bitcoin idea. We've talked about an overall Bitcoin idea. We've broken down dominance a little bit. So let's start to roll through the list here. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to sit here and show you how I would chart things on high time frames to look for big moves, which I shouldn't do because that's paid group stuff. But I'm going to do it because I feel bad that I haven't been online. All right, so Ethereum, when we were making our ideas for catching this bounce that happened, we were looking at some type of a large wedge that was happening here. I don't think we went down there. I think we went the other way with that. We just took it off of these points. Back to this red. Again, I wiped my old charts just because I wanted to kind of go over this with you guys today. So we were looking down here at the idea that we were going to catch a bounce on all this stuff, right? Support, support, support. And we didn't sit here very long. I even went as far as to say that we could linger down here for a while. You know, I drew one of these to kind of match a similar scenario over here where we did kind of do a bit of a reversal before we moved. But Ethereum didn't want to do that this time. It ran immediately, which is a great sign. I mean, obviously a lot of people were paying attention to these levels, and we didn't make it much down below the 13 area, and we're back. Ethereum's back in business. Now, does it break through here, or does it pull all the way back before it breaks through? Make no mistakes, it is going to break through. But again, there's always two sides to the coin, so we have to look at both sides. Oh, come on now. All right, so we could see it break out of here and push for new levels. And I mean, based on this pattern, those new levels are going to be pretty nice levels for Ethereum. It sounds far-fetched until the bull run actually happens. Well, that's a little much. We're not going to do that. My goodness, wouldn't that be crazy? But we are in a pattern like this. So we're looking to break out and push these levels. And then that's going to make us go into price discovery on Ethereum. And that's going to be a big deal. I think that's going to make people get people are going to get very bullish on these higher cap coins when they start breaking into price discovery. Now, Bitcoin, it just kind of rolls after it hits price discovery. It's a big old dinosaur, right? But these altcoins, I would seriously consider Ethereum an altcoin at this point. But they're gonna have the ability to move farther because of market cap and how much money they have in them. So I am looking for Ethereum to make a big move out of this pattern, but we do have to anticipate the idea that it's not quite there yet, and we run down before we run up. We won't know that until we start pushing this level and breaking it. And then we can make a decision. If we start breaking this level, say we form a small triangle up here, something bullish above this pattern idea, then it's going to look pretty positive. But we do have to be willing to look at the idea that we roll back here. Until we break this level, we will not know. Okay, so compound. I'm not sure if anybody's watching these old dino coins. But a lot of alts are pushing at these lower levels. So we have to make the choice, right? What's more likely? A zero or a move? Now with something like this, I would be willing to trade this range until I get a move outside of this area or below this area. If we are bullish, that is not what will happen. If we're bullish, we will do this. Okay? And we will make those pushes up. So depending on what dominance chooses to do, we're going to have two options here with these alts. It's either time or it's not, and we just have to trade accordingly, right? Okay, see, something like Link here even. We're in the same situation right now where we might just but we could do this. So this is why I was sharing low entries on a lot of these, and a lot of people in the group were getting runs from the bottom points running up. Not Link. Link's kind of stagnant right now compared to a lot of other things. But we'll get into some of the setups. Not even going to bother with Trump. Okay, so stuff like this. All right, we were sharing this big falling wedge idea. Okay, now it played out and it gave us a nice run. And now we have to see what's going to happen here. Are we going to make a flag to continue? We're going to have to watch dominance to make sure that that's going to play through. Again, just like, I mean, look at this. Big falling, break up through. Big falling, break up through. So once again, we're in that downtrend. We're catching pushes up. Obviously, if we see here, we're going to push to here. But what we have to watch for is when dominance breaks below that line that we were looking at, if dominance breaks down into here and starts rolling, all of those things are going to become very bullish very fast. We just have to watch for dominance to hold here and start to make another push, because that's not going to do well for our alt season idea, and we're going to have to wait a little while for that to all play out. Same thing. You know, we went through this. This is when we were looking at entering, is when we were going through all of these big falling wedge ideas, and we eventually made that higher low. And we started to run, and right now we're in an uptrend. Bitcoin dominance will decide what these coins do from here. Okay? So if dominance is going to continue to fall as we would like, we're going to see these, even these bearish patterns, we're going to see them break out through the top. We're going to see the 50 stay above the 2, and we're going to push into some type of a run. I'm not even going to look up our coin. All right, so Gala. Again, we have this large upside down curve. Nothing to be afraid of, but that's where it's at. This is what a lot of these coins are doing, which also can be, you know, pointed out like this. All right, so we're way down here at these lower levels. We get a double bounce. Things are starting to move. We're seeing green volume. It's still not large green volume, but again, things are down at these low levels. So we have to wonder, does it all go to zero? Or should we be scaling in at these lower levels with the idea that we're going to at least try to make these higher levels again? Do we hit all-time high? Who knows? Only time will tell. But what we can do is we can use some technical analysis to find good entries and good exits and make some money in between the trades. I'm not going to put a lot of attention to detail into this. If you want to break these ideas down, join the group and shoot me a message, and we'll talk about stuff. Now, this is one that we just recently gave out in the group. Over here, though, because we were looking at a wedge idea here. And when we got down to the bottom, for the fourth time and we started to hold. We even went as far as to print a small bullish looking pattern. So this setup was given out and it gave us a nice run. I mean, that doesn't look like a lot, pardon me, but if you pull your numbers on that, that's a nice run. It's a very nice run that we were able to catch just by predicting that we were at the bottom of this trend and anticipating that we could see the top of it. Now again, if we see this 50-day moving average curl up over the 200, this could really run right now. I mean, we have 1, 2, 3, we'll say 4 touches on a falling wedge. That's a pretty bullish looking situation. But again, depending on what dominance does, and I can't stress this enough. That's why I always look at dominance when I start to trade. We could do this before we break up and out of here. So it's important to watch for that as a possibility. It's always nice to get in down here because if you're wrong, you can get stopped out just below these ideas. When you're getting in up here before you see that breakthrough, it's dangerous. I mean, you want to trade like everybody else is going to trade in that sense as a trader. So you're looking for entries down at the bottom of your pattern, or your next point of entry is going to be a break above the pattern. And you want to see it form some kind of a bullish pattern up here above this resistance level for it to continue on higher. And that's when you can kind of pull like a measured move idea out and say, okay, if it breaks that, we're going to push up a little higher here. And you just have to take it level for level. But again, right now, I mean, I just shared a video where we had at least 75 to up to 290% gains on over 12 different alt setups that were thrown out in the group. So, I mean, things have ran very well. You can only imagine that people are going to take some profits at some point, right? I'm not going to bother with this. This one we just had a nice run on as well. I believe it was shared up. But again, I mean, all you have to do is look at this previous price action. And at some point when it's doing this giant falling pattern and it, you know, breaks out, we get a double bottom here. We have money flow pushing over. Everything looked so amazing that I just couldn't stop sharing alt setups. And now we're getting to the point where this is either going to continue and make a big run for alts, or again, we're going to see dominance make a bounce here, and we're just not quite there yet. Not a great amount of data on this. I mean, this level's holding. We could see a pullback to test this just before we cross bullish and run over. But again, I mean, we're just about to cross bullish here. Alts are looking like they really want to make the move. Now, Shiba has been constant. I continue to share setups in Shiba, and they continue to play out. We at one point had this triangle, and then we had this one. So we traded both of these in the group. And then the last one that I shared wasn't quite a triangle, but it was a curve coming out of a much larger idea, and it's played out very well for us. But that was based on the fact that, listen, we were coming out of here. We were breaking out of this range. And so once we did that, and I saw the curve, as we pulled back into those levels, I said, all right, there's a good chance we're going to break up out of here. And we did, and we had another nice run. I mean, Shiba doesn't go to the moon, but it's given us a good 20% the last 3 or 4 times we've traded it. If you held that one, it was almost 40. And these 3 trades were given out in the group. Just waiting for the moment. for you to see. And all it is, all of them, they're just reversals, just temporary reversals. And you're going to see the same thing on the upside. Not as frequently clear on fast price action, because obviously we go up a lot faster and then we come down a lot slower when we're not bullish. Now, when we're bullish, that's the opposite, right? It's what is it? Stairs up, elevator down. But when we're not bullish, things will go up really fast and then they pull back, kind of slow. They get long, dragged out, which is what we like to see, because then that kind of proves to us that we're starting to get bullish again and we're starting to hold momentum. And as we broke this and this happened, we caught another run. Long term, now I'll do this with Shiba, but I'm not going to do it with too much. How low do we think we are on the grand scheme of things? So once again, we have to consider that we're right in the middle on certain things. Now, low time frames, we can catch moves, we can anticipate moves, but high time frame, we have two choices here. Back down to these levels and up and out, or it's really time and we're just going to recover before we push down into these levels and surprise everyone, because that's very like Bitcoin and very like altcoins. When it's that moment and you think you're going to get that last big dip, you never do, and then everything takes off and you missed out. That's kind of how the market's designed. It's to make sure that you're always sitting in the wrong spot when it decides to do the right thing. I'm just double checking. So far, it looks like we're excellent condition. If anybody happens to be in here and you wanted to just drop a line that says we are clear and the stream's working, that would be appreciated. It looks like everything's going great. Okay. Well, now this is an interesting. So I do have a setup shared for this one. I don't know much about it. I'm a chart trader. But this thing is either going to go to zero or it's going to explode when no one's paying attention. And this is amazing. This long, drawn out pattern. We have money flow pushing in the right direction for us here. And things are starting to head this way. Possible trigger wave. You could be looking at even the thing about stuff like this is, I mean, even if you get a run to the top of that pattern, this is insane. This is where crypto really shines. So we've been watching these lower levels in the group. This has been a setup for a while, and it's had a couple of bounces up off of that area, and even the little bounces up off of that area are really volatile. So I wouldn't go playing with this unless you know what you're doing on small time frames. But as you can see, and I know you can't see it because there's just the volume's not even showing for this, but volume, when we hit this point, and this was the actual pattern shared, you know, something like this, you're going to see volume start coming in no matter what here. People are going to start paying attention. Again. We're really watching for this to break. Okay, and then once it does, then we can make our decision. The only places I would be considering a long on something like this will be down here at our bottom idea. or it would be up here once we've broken this level. So it's the same thing. Up and out. Or we have to prepare for rejection and then down and out. So your entries are here, tight stop loss, here, tight stop loss, but never just in the middle of things. So this is why when we were looking at all this stuff and we were down at the bottom, we had these big falling wedges. We got a bounce here, a nice looking bounce. So this line became true, this line became true, and then we were able to make our decision. So obviously it runs up and gets rejected. Now we have to see, I mean, you're kind of in the middle. You're in the middle zone right now. You want to wait for this, or you want to wait for this. And that's all across the board with anything that I'm ever going to share. Any setups that I may or may not share on social media, which I've been doing a little more lately. We're almost up to 1,400 people on our Instagram, so I've been trying to be a little more gifting, I guess, and sharing more actual setups on stuff. And I'm trying to grow the X account as well, so I have been giving the odd setup out, and all of the setups that I trade are the exact same. I don't overcomplicate anything. It's either a curve or a falling wedge, and my position entry ideas are based off of those same lines that I just showed you. And that would be the exact same thing with this chart. Come on. You know, your entries are down here, or your entries are out here. So again, I mean, all of these things did it. We came down in these big, drawn out, tightly consolidated falling wedges. It's 50%. Just by watching a bottom line here. Now, something like this, you got to consider this too, though. Okay? Sometimes you got to consider this. Because we know they'll like to push the price action really far. You know, you wick down to here, you close above here, break up through, and then you run. So, again, you're always wanting to make your entries on these lower ideas, or once you've confirmed that yes, this is going to be bullish, we see a big volume candle, we break out through, those are your signs to start looking and getting into something. Again, I'm just a guy talking on YouTube. Don't take anything I say to heart. I've been, you know, full-time day trading for a few years now, but you need to do your own research. Dogecoin was another one, and I'll show this. We literally caught Dogecoin off of a curve idea. Okay, so we had some, I think what we had originally was this, something like this, and then I always like to copy and paste that. Once I get it across the most connection points that I can, then I'm going to clone that. I'm going to pull it down. Okay, so we caught into this second range. We were looking at this large falling wedge, and if you break it down on a smaller time frame, you can clearly see the falling wedge pattern, and you can clearly see it break up through, hold on our level, and start to make a run. And again, it doesn't seem like much, but when you're in the high time frames, that was 95%. That's a nice run, okay? Looking at the big picture, that's a nice run. Biggest one we've had since, you guessed it, the last big, long, drawn-out wedge. So what does Doge have to do now to prove bullish to us? Well, it has to push up above this level. When it pushes up above that level, I can confirm that this curve is at the end of its life, and we will push up out of target and run to all-time highs. Until that gets proven, and that's why I always make my entries at the bottoms on the pattern ideas, until that gets proven, this could draw out much farther. There's nothing that says the curve's fully drawn out yet. right? So we have this here, and then we have this big long one here. Until I see the falling wedge, I'm not going to enter. So that was the nice falling wedge. This is us pushing. We've made a higher high. Now we just need to make a higher low and hold this level, and we could be on our way up and out of here. But again, that's why I'm always so keen on waiting for these patterns to exist. And I'm always looking to make my entries at the bottom of these pattern ideas, because this is when your volume comes in. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, fourth or fifth touch. Boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fourth or fifth touch. Out we go. Obviously that dragged on for a long time. But ideally, on these smaller patterns, if you're bullish, you're going to see a falling wedge, fourth or fifth touch. People are going to activate. You're going to get your higher high. And then if it's bullish, you're going to get your higher low. So another thing to consider, I know it's going to get messy here, is that we roll in something like this. Okay? So that's going to give you your high. But then we're going to push around in here. And then this, now we're future predicting, which I don't like to do, but let's just hypothetically talk about predicting the future a little bit. The next thing you'll be looking for if we do make it up here is either a massive green candle as proof that you should sell, or you're going to look to see it break up in these levels and hold above this resistance level. Okay? Once you see it holding above here and forming a bullish pattern, that's an idea that you're going to push even farther. But you have to take it level by level always. Nobody, even on YouTube or Instagram, can predict what these coins are going to do over a large period of time. Everybody can sit down, do some technical analysis, and give themselves an idea of when you might see a bounce or a move. Hoffs, hey, I really appreciate it, man. I'm glad you found me. I'm going to be on here all the time. We just got our system all upgraded, and we have only just begun. So I appreciate you being here, brother. Same with you, HRJ. It's really nice to see you still in here. And yes, always add Doge to the watch list, because you never know when Elon's going to talk about it. Okay. So I want to run through quickly just all of these alts that I have on this particular list, because I just wanted to give you the general idea of where I think we're looking right now. Because I'm still not calling alt season, but clearly it's a bounce or two away if it's not here just yet. Actually, let's go back here. IOTA doesn't actually look that amazing, to be honest with you. It's kind of pulling the curve thing here, just like the other ones. Something along the lines of this. Okay, so I mean, it's middle ranged right now. I would really like to see it push those levels and hold them, or I would like to see it come back down here. So I'm not really playing with stuff like this. Now, again, though, this was one that we had where we saw this really nice pattern, and it was pinching down to our low levels. And sure enough, you get your run quickly. But then now we're not doing that. Now we're kind of just, there's no pattern here. I say that, but then I look and I see, there could be something like this here. I said there's no pattern, but okay, now there's a pattern. There's clearly a pattern. I mean, you're looking for at least this. But you have to be prepared for this. So again, is this something that you would hold on spot? Yeah, sure, maybe. Maybe you buy some spot if you believe in the project. But is this something you would go in and decide to scalp trade right now because of the fact that you believe in the market? Probably not, because you're not at any of those key levels right now. That was a month ago when everything was bottoming out. Everything was hitting a level where it looked safe to trade again. Okay, we're on the 3-day. WorldCoin, we did actually really well on. And I didn't even know about WorldCoin. Someone presented it to me in the group, and I just said, all right, this looks like it's going to have a nice bounce soon. And we basically drew this. And then I don't even think I went as, I'm pretty sure what I did was this. Right? So I was anticipating that we would, I think we noticed it here. And I thought we would go a little lower than we did. And then we dropped out. I got nervous and I didn't even enter, but a couple people in the group actually bought in there and entered and had a really nice trade. And now the second time I entered on it, because if you went to the smaller time frame, so I shared it with everybody, but even personally, I didn't get in until right here. And I took a shot on this, and I had a nice little run, and I've already sold out at least half of it, just in case we get up to here and get rejected. Because again, like I said, your entry ideas are not going to be in the middle of the action. If you come to your computer and things are happening and you're not in your position, you missed your shot. Chill out, wait for the next moment. Because what I'm waiting for on this is going to be something, again, back down to these levels, or I would like to see it break up above these levels. Because you're going to linger sideways and be so boring until one of those 2 points gets hit. When one of those 2 points gets hit, you're going to see volume come in, just like we did back here on this falling wedge. Now that falling wedge is inside of a falling wedge on a larger time frame. And it's not like a new thing where it's like, Tyler, how did you think to do that? It's the same thing that happened the last time. We had a big, large consolidating falling wedge. This is how traders trade. This is why the patterns look the way they look. This is how charts end up being up and down the way that they are. Rising wedge, falling wedge, rising wedge, falling wedge. It's not that hard, right? And on a micro scale, you're looking at some phase of markup, distribution, markdown, accumulation, markup, distribution, markdown. So on a smaller time frame, you're seeing all these things play out. And we're just rolling with the punches on this. So unless we see this push up, make that higher high, I'm more than likely confident that we come back down and see this again. Scare everybody, and then alt season begins. So right now, all of our situations for the past 2 months have made their moves. Getting in, if you weren't in, is risky. We just had a great run on Cookie as well. I think we got over 200% on it based on this pattern right here. But again, now we need to see these patterns form again. And so that's one thing about the group. If you're in my group, if you're in the paid side, I'm not constantly sharing to make you feel like you're getting your money's worth out of the group. You might not see me post for 2 weeks, and then one day I post that everything's turning and that we need to look at getting in to the market again. And it's always better to watch, wait, and be prepared for the right moments than it is to try to trade things that don't exist. I've had someone recently in the group who was very insistent on telling me what they should trade. And it wasn't working out very well for them because they were trading things that had no data. They were trading things that hadn't been on the market for any length of time. So there was nothing to base your decisions off of. And we didn't actually do so well together because our trading styles were that different. I'm a very cautious trader. I've worked very hard to grow my wallet in the past 7 years of my life. I'm not about to just give it all up on the off chance that something could make me $1 million today. It's much more important to keep yourself grounded and pay attention to your assets and not let them go gambling, I would say. All right, so again, we see this curve, but not the end of the world, because inside of this pattern is going to be this large pattern that we want to see range. And again, touch, run, almost touch, run. Didn't quite make it down, but you get the idea. Let's just clone that line up and then run, touch, little run, run. So I mean, people are making entries down here. and they're selling up here. So unless you're in there scalping, which is totally fine, I wouldn't scalp something like that personally, my goodness. But the idea is, you know, you're going to see up and down. But when we see on the daily time frames, and you want to make an entry that's going to be worth decent gains, why trade this in the 2-minute time frame and try to make small potatoes? I mean, if you like to scalp for fun, sure. When you could just wait for a line that's existed for 3 years and make an entry on that line. Literally draw this line from this point to this point across to this point. I wouldn't do, you know, this point even. So say you draw it across this point, this point, this point. Now you have 3 contacts. The next time it came down here, the 4th touch, volume showed up. I mean, look at the volume candle the second that it touched this for the 4th time. Like I said, 3rd or 4th touch, sometimes the 5th. That's when you're going to see volume come into stuff. And that's a big green volume candle, which sparked a nice run there. ADA, we were watching. You can already see it now, right? We've done it enough. You can already see it. Okay, so we were watching this on ADA, this big curve idea. And then again, somehow, some way, I run it like this. I want to do that double because you can clearly see where that's actually proving valid. Where this point over here, sometimes over on this side, will actually come down and get touched before it makes its move. I mean, if ADA holds this level, ADA's gonna do very well a lot sooner than later. And again, we were looking at this on ADA. We had this big curve. We had this falling wedge down. We were looking at an entry at the bottom of it. And when you zoom into that and you start paying attention to your levels on the high time frames, we also had a very nice run on ADA. Now again, I did share a video where I went over all of these ideas, the charts that I shared before the runs happened and after, and basically everything we had thought was going to bounce, bounced right where we wanted it to. Again, there were 3 or 4 things that did a move, but not nearly what we were hoping for. I'm not going to bother sharing something that moved 15% with you guys when I've got things that I can share that moved 400%. DOT has never broken below these levels. Wow, that's interesting to see how it hit that much lower. Like it really pushed down. Well, into this red here, I guess. So not too far. I'm going to cut that off because I see support or resistance, support, support, resistance. So I'm going to cut that off and run that line there. And again with DOT, we were looking at, well, now I trade DOT all the time. So I caught this. I've been trading DOT since it came out. I don't think I've missed a run on DOT yet. I traded this run on DOT when it came out. So yeah, I mean DOT, run, double top, big pullback. You get this big old falling wedge. And now price doesn't always boom out of that. It does go out of it, and then once it's out of there, you're going to see it form another bullish pattern sometimes. Well, when it does that and it comes down and it connects up with, you know, previous lows, there's a good chance it's going to run. So it ran. Back down, and it ran. Back down. What do you think? Is DOT going to 0? Or is this probably a good time to consider looking at DOT? Now, again, this was shared out back here when we had this. And if you zoom in some, I even went as far as to capitalize and say, hey, it's looking pretty good. We're making some type of a little flag up outside of DOT. DOT 2.0 upgrade coming. 100%. I have not lost faith in some of these coins. They're the ones that I think are going to do really amazing things because I think what no one is ready for, I don't think that anyone's ready for these coins to come smashing up through these targets. And then maybe they pull back. But I see great things happening for some of these coins. I really do. I can see DOT getting to all-time high again. I really can. Now, there's some projects from that era that we might not see do well, but DOT is one that I can see doing well because just like you said, they're just still putting in the work, and people are going to buy on that. And I mean, you can see back here when we had this big volume, and then now, you know, here it's kind of phased out and died out a little bit. But if you notice, as we're getting up here, we're starting to see that volume come back in. And that's because as this coin gets that close to this consolidated area, it eventually has no choice but to go to zero or go to all-time highs. Once things start to consolidate like this on high time frames, it becomes pretty inevitable. Okay, I got to up my coffee real quick. Give me 2 seconds. I'm going to use the washroom and up my coffee, and I will be right back, okay? Don't go anywhere. All right, I'm back. I'm super impressed with the stream. I haven't even had one issue or one error. It's I think we've got it locked in. All right, so let's move on. We just kind of went over some DOT ideas. Basically, I'm just going to run this small list I have. I have a bigger list, but we're going to run through this one. And hopefully that'll give us an idea of what the overall market looks like. Because a lot of these coins run together. And if we look at a bunch of things, we can kind of see, okay, a lot of these coins are in the same spot. And based on what Bitcoin's doing and what dominance is doing, we can really consider whether it's alt time or not. Now again, CRV is another one that I trade all the time. I remember being back here when CRV happened, and it's been pretty consistent on these lower levels to get some kind of a bounce. Now the last bounce that we got was amazing, but it gave us just the perfect pattern because again we had 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth touch, bottom of this big falling wedge. And I think that was like 500 some percent. That was a great run. I didn't get the full thing. I sold before that happened. Yeah, it was a big run. And then, so once that happened, I shared in the group we were looking for our retest, right? Because again, these are the 2 points that I keep telling you that you need to worry about. And any other point doesn't matter. You just wait and be patient. You want down here, third or fourth touch, okay? Or you want that retest. Because that's when you're going to see volume come into the market. It's not my rule. I didn't make the rule. That's just when it happens. So we also were anticipating this. And sure enough, we got another nice run off of that idea. Now, think of all the people that started trading over here and lost all their money for 3 years. And will CRV, sorry, will it come back up? It very well could. But I'm not worried about stuff like that because my entry ideas are down here. And if you notice, people take profits very quickly, almost halfway through the pattern, most of the time, all the way throughout here. You get your bounce, but quick profit taking. Bounce, quick profit taking. Bounce, quick profit taking. And then once you get over to here, that's when you're going to break this pattern. Once we break this pattern, and once we get to the, I mean, look, no volume. No volume whatsoever. Boom. Now I'm in. Now you have my attention. When this happens, I'm looking for that retest. You officially have my attention. The volume's quadrupled from the entirety of its whole life. That's a good sign to me, right? Again, I don't want to talk too much. Everybody's going to leave the page side today because they just going to go watch this video and get everything they're going to need for the next month. Not true. There's so much content in the paid side. I do one-on-one. So even if you have no idea how to trade, I do one-on-one sessions and I get you from where you are to where you want to be. That's one thing that I do different than a lot of these groups. You don't come join my group and get thrown into the mix with a whole bunch of other people that trade. You come into my group and we sit down together and we go over exactly where you're at and exactly where you want to be. Because everybody trades different. Everybody's life is different. And you'd be pretty hard pressed to find people that are trading the exact same style, the exact same time frames, with the exact same risk. I mean, some people have a lot more that they're willing to throw at this market than other people. Again, though, same thing. Filecoin. And this is one we're watching because if we're looking at this, we are making these big consolidations again. Okay? So, down here, I'm just going to keep saying it until it clicks in. Down here is the spot for entry. Okay? Or up here is the spot for entry. So you get trading view. You draw this out and you set 2 alarms. You put an alarm down here. Maybe drag this up a little bit. Here's what you do. You drag that up a little bit. Okay? So you put the alarm down here and you put the alarm here. Then you just wait because you're either going to get this or it's going to zero. There's no in between. Maybe you get this. Because isn't it like crypto to fake everyone out just before that big move happens? And that's just because, I mean, if everybody's opening up a bunch of trades down here at 20x leverage and it runs, that's going to collapse the whole market on its head. So they got to get rid of the leveraged guys just before that big run happens. So long-term stuff, your spot trading or low leverage trading. I use leverage as a tool when I'm in the small time frames. That's when leverage comes in handy for me. I have absolutely no use for it on bigger time frames unless it's like, maybe 5x max just to amplify my position. It's the small time frames. Like if I'm down in the 1 to 3 minute time frames, I'm trading at like 125x leverage just because I want my move to matter and when I want to get out quick, right? But bigger, longer patterns like this, you don't need that extra leverage. You don't have to worry because when you do get a run, it's a big run. And so my main setup page worries a lot more about getting you a few 150% runs in a year than it does getting you 3 to 50% leveraged a day and gambling with your money. I really do a large scale look at the markets, and I keep in touch with the people in the group, and we make our entries and exit based on. I've literally gone into the group and I said, all right, guys, I'm going to sell everything and go fishing for a month. I advise you do the same. I've done that. And then Bitcoin ran from 70K to 15K. So, I mean, we're not here to overtrade this market. Mind you, there's still lots of scalps to be made. And so I share, I have another page where I share the smaller Bitcoin scalps and the smaller pattern ideas, even on the 3-minute time frame. But you want to know what you're doing if you're going to trade those, right? That's more risk. XRP is hilarious. Kudos to all the XRP people. I'm not going to lie, I've never been an XRP person, but it's doing amazing. Again, we look at some of this previous price history, and we really made this long, drawn-out triangle pattern. We had a measured move idea somewhere around this. So, I mean, you could still see a little more out of. Well, actually, it pushed up higher high. XRP is doing wonderful. Unbelievable. It did break all-time high. I was just saying in the group that it's not going to do it, but it had to prove me wrong, and look at that. XRP did most definitely do it. But I mean, again, as an example here, this is... Now, I haven't shared XRP in the group. I just watch it. But I mean, you had the same kind of idea, right? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, you got quite a few touches on the bottom of here. But it keeps getting bought up, bought up, bought up. So eventually, people realize that this is not going any lower, and you get your run up through. Didn't even get a retest here. Maybe on a smaller time frame, you would have gotten some kind of a retest. Not really, eh? Nope. It kind of broke out and just kept on running. There is no TA that I can give you for that right now. I do not offer TA for things that are in price discovery. The most you can do is this. All right. And then clone that up to here. Okay, and that's, I mean, that's the max you're going to get right now. The max. And that's if it can break up through this level. And this is going to be your range for XRP. And when the bear market hits for these coins, everybody's going to say that I'm crazy. We most definitely could see this. But we could very well also see this. And then you'll get your run again. Because nobody makes any money in this market if it just keeps going up. The key thing to everybody making their money in crypto is the fact that this run is 60%, but this run is 700%. So once coins get so high, everybody wants them to come back down. Well, I mean, not everybody. The bulls, they want it to keep going up, but the bears, they want it to come back down so that they can make their low entries again, because there's not as much of a run when the price starts to get higher. And it takes a lot more money to push things. Near, I'm not even going to worry about, because that looks the exact same as 4 other things we looked at. I mean, you get the idea here. It's in the triangle one right now, okay? So again, when we were looking at this stuff back here, it looked super great, super consolidated. I mean, look how much this price action pinched at the last minute. That is amazing. When you see that, and you're 3/4 of the way into you know pulled back wave, that is just perfect. But we're not down there yet. What we're doing is we're bouncing off of, if you clone that line up, what we're doing is we're bouncing off of the second range here. Now, if you made the entry there with a stop loss there, you're a winner. But would you make the entry here? No. It's in limbo. So again, same thing. Should I even do it? I'll do it just in case. Same thing. Up here, down here. You can set a stop loss. You can set a stop loss. Minimize your risk. Maximize your reward, right? Not even really worried about. I don't even know how this one made it onto my list. It kind of looks like it's doing this right now. Okay, so inside of this is some type of an arc. But you're also going to want to watch. I mean, this could be a total flag. But again, same situation as all of the other ones. Once you've drawn that pattern out, you have down here as entry or up here as entry. If you're looking to catch these bigger, longer moves worth much more in gains, these are the things you need to wait for on the high time frames. Yes, you can go in and use everything I've talked about this entire video on the 3-minute time frame. Everything. But you're going to have to adjust your timing and your risk accordingly, because small time frames aren't going to play out as much, and they're going to play out much faster. If you see a falling wedge on the small time frame and it plays out to a higher high, sure, you're going to get great runs, but it's going to be 9%, not 300, and you have to take that into account. You have to calculate that into your trading strategy. No, not looking at pie. Sui. The last thing that I have, and I will share basically what I have in the paid group side for Sui. I did this. And then basically we were seeing it come down here, and I just had the idea that we were going to bounce. Now, it hasn't done anything crazy from this point, but the idea was that we were going to bounce on this level based on this little, curve idea. And we did, and we get, a nice run out of it. But again, now we have to consider the next level of this is something like this could be happening. Okay? So unless you're getting in down on these bottom areas of this possible triangle, or you're waiting for it to break up through, we kind of have to watch. You're gonna see a big run, and then we're gonna cool off, and then you're gonna see a big run again. If this becomes a bullish pattern and it's gonna break up out of here, it could do great things. Very, very, very possible. And everybody says, oh, that's an outrageous price, but you should have seen alts back when alts did what alts did. Way back here. Okay? We were getting 10,000 to 15,000% altcoin runs back here. But everybody's mind was blown. They had nothing left to sell, and the price just kept going up and up and up. All right, so let's check out Sol. And then I don't know how long we've been doing this for, but I should save something for tomorrow. I think we're about 2 hours in. All right. Well, maybe an hour, because I did go, I did have it sitting on the intro screen, just making sure everything was going to run smooth. Okay, so Soluna I had set as like a cup and handle kind of idea in the group. Looking at, something like this. Big cup. And then we're looking at this to turn into like some type of a handle here. I mean, so measured move on something like that is going to be great. I know that's outrageous. But could you imagine? Now, does it stay up there? If you somehow got that measured move out of this cup and handle, what are the odds that you think it stays? 0. It's gonna do this. You're gonna get if it happens, if they do it, You're going to get this big, giant green candle that we haven't seen since the beginning of the dinosaur times. And then it's all just going to roll over. And everything's going to do that. Nothing will hold. If this breaks through, okay, just as an example, let's use ADA as an example. This is why it's so important to pay ourselves in this market. Because ADA is going to break through, okay, and it's going to run up to these levels. Boom. Everybody's going to freak out because ADA is like $30 or $20 one day. Maybe, again, maybe not that high. It's as simple as cloning this and pulling it back to the next little level here, and then you're not going to get as high of a run. But so say ADA blows everybody's mind and hits that $12 everybody's looking for. Well, it's still going to pull back all the way down here at some point, and it's going to come and test this line again. Right? We're gonna range. There's nothing here that's going to go shh and never come back. You're gonna get a run, and then a pull, and then a run, and then a pull, and then at some point maybe you break out and then hold that level, and the price action starts to live up. Well, that's a insanely high. Let's hope that ADA never does that. That'd be too much. But the idea is that you're going to range here, okay? And you're going to pull back, and you're going to range, and then maybe you're going to break down through, because nothing says that ADA is going to $1,000 or But again, that's the same point. Is your entries are down at the bottom idea always. Or in a super bullish world, you might consider breakout trading something, but you would have to be pretty gutsy to breakout trade, say, $12 ADA. You'd have to have a lot of cojones to breakout trade $12 ADA. But I very much do see these prices happening. And they're going to happen very fast, and no one is going to be ready for it. And this is all going to depend on this line right here. When this line breaks, it's alt season. You can quote me on that. When this line breaks, it's alt season. Okay? It has not done so yet. We want to see this roll over, break down below, and get rejected. When this price action does a bearish retest, we break down below, come up, try to get back through and can't, and start working our way down, that's when alts will go completely insane. And it's going to happen so fast. Bitcoin's been running slowly this whole time. And then the alts are going to do the same thing in much less time. Now, that's a stretch on how long alt season lasted. I mean, alt season really happened that fast. All right, I think we'll leave it there today, because I would like to come back on tomorrow and go over some things. So yeah, I think we'll leave it there today. I will throw in that Lucid, one of the others, because I share stocks in the group as well. And yeah, Lucid is something that I'm in. I shared in the group. I was averaged in at 211, and it's running. Really watching for Lucid to break this pattern. Don't know how many people trade the stock market, but this is something to keep an eye on right now. And then I do see Cody. Yeah, I want to look at Cody. We can look at Cody. Old DeFi gems. Hey, no problem, HRJ. I really appreciate you being here. I'm going to take a quick look at Cody because someone just asked, and then I think we'll wrap this one up. And I can't wait to get back on and do this again tomorrow and go over ideas daily so we can keep an eye on this market. I'm very happy to have gotten the setup figured out. means a lot to me to do this. So this is important to me, to get out here and share these ideas with people and let people not get wrecked by these markets. Make no mistakes, they are after your money. Okay. So Cody, I believe, is an old DeFi coin from way back in the day. I mean, we would have been trading this stuff way back here when it made its... Okay, so here's a prime example. This was the last time alts actually had a bull run. This is a prime example of what a bull run for alts can do. We haven't seen one since those other days, like those other numbers. Since way back in like 2021 or 2. We haven't seen this happen. Now, again, this is going to seem like a total stretch, but just based on drawing out this pattern, even not overgoing with it, you could see all-time highs push if these patterns can hold. And again, I'm going to throw it out one more time so that it's burnt into your head. Where are we making our entries? Down here? Or where else are we making them? Up here. Okay? Nice consolidation here. Pushing down to the bottom. Like a 1, 2, third touch. Maybe we see that fourth touch. And then, just like the rest, Cody could make its way up and out. At this point, again, I can't stress it enough. You're either going to zero or you're going up. These things are at these low levels. If you see Cody break down below here, below like this, then I'd get a little bit nervous that you were going to see some type of a rejection for bullishness. You know, everybody's lost. I don't know much about the project. I haven't looked up Cody in a long time, but that's when I'd start to worry. Is when we lost, sorry about that, when we lost this level here, then I'd start to worry. But yeah, that's why you would make your entry here with a tight stop loss. And yeah, again, we're going to leave it right there. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We're going to get back on here and do this again. I've got the system locked in. I appreciate all of your time. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Did anybody notice we switched my hat? That's the question. Let us grow, everyone. Have a great day.